Imagine a world where monsters no longer need to hide. That's the magic of Hotel Transylvania, a franchise introducing us to a luxurious hotel, hidden from humans, where vampires, werewolves, mummies, and all kinds of creatures can relax in peace. Under Dracula's leadership, this place serves as a refuge for monsters fearing humanity's judgment and persecution. But what if the story isn't quite what it seems? What if these monsters aren't truly monsters, but humans who believe they are supernatural beings? The theory that the monsters in Hotel Transylvania aren't real monsters suggests that everything we see is actually from the perspective of these creatures. In this interpretation, Dracula, Mavis, Frankenstein, Murray, and others don't possess genuine supernatural abilities or monstrous appearances, but live under altered perceptions, convinced they are fantastical beings. This could be seen as a case of collective delusion, where everyone shares a common narrative. They don't see themselves as human but as monsters. The hotel functions as a space where this worldview is accepted and reinforced, shielding its residents from external judgment. This idea is supported by the ease with which Jonathan, a human, blends in with the group. When he arrives at the hotel, Dracula only needs to give him a cape and some fake fangs for the other monsters to accept him. It's as though the creatures are predisposed to believe what they see, even if it's just a disguise. This ease with which Jonathan camouflages among the monsters suggests that the separation between humans and monsters isn't as significant as it seems. Jonathan doesn't need to demonstrate supernatural abilities or prove his monstrosity to be accepted. This raises the question, if he's human and fits in so well, could it be that the others are also humans who've created a fantasy for themselves? Another significant detail is that the characters' monstrous traits often reflect very human behaviors. Frankenstein, for instance, fears fire and displays insecurity about his appearance. Wayne, the werewolf, is exhausted by parenthood and the chaos his many pups bring to his life. These traits don't stand out as characteristics of supernatural creatures, but rather as very human challenges, exaggerated to align with the monster narrative. Finally, there's a central metaphor supporting this idea. The monsters represent individuals who don't feel accepted in the human world. By adopting these fantastic identities, they find a way to cope with their insecurities and traumas. The hotel in this context becomes a place where they can be whoever they want to be without fear of judgment. Within the theory that the monsters in Hotel Transylvania are humans living under a collective illusion, Dracula plays a crucial role. He isn't just the most powerful vampire but the emotional leader and protector of this special community. From this perspective, Dracula can be seen as someone who created the hotel as a sanctuary, not for real monsters, but for people who identify as such. This interpretation is reinforced by Dracula's personal history. In the first film, he mentions the tragedy of losing his wife, Martha, who was hunted and killed by humans. This traumatic event could be seen as a metaphor for personal losses or prejudices faced by individuals who don't feel they belong to the normal world. Dracula then built the hotel not just to isolate himself, but to protect others who share similar feelings. The dynamic between Dracula and the other monsters reinforces this view. He is seen as a father figure or authority, often resolving conflicts and helping his guests deal with personal issues. Wayne, the werewolf, seeks Dracula's help to cope with the stress of his large family. Frankenstein relies on Dracula to make important decisions. Even Mavis, his own daughter, constantly seeks her father's approval and guidance. This central role suggests Dracula is more than a host. He is the emotional pillar of a community that needs a leader to keep their reality intact. Dracula's near-obsessive resistance to humans entering the hotel can also be understood as psychological protection, not only for himself but for the other monsters. The presence of a human like Jonathan could destabilize the collective illusion, revealing that there is no real difference between humans and monsters. Dracula's initial reaction to hide Jonathan and expel him from the hotel could be interpreted as fear that the truth would shatter the safe bubble he created for his guests. However, as Dracula gets to know Jonathan, he gradually accepts him. This suggests that deep down, Dracula recognizes that the barriers between monsters and humans are more psychological than real. Jonathan isn't just an intruder, but a catalyst for Dracula to question the divisions he himself built between the hotel and the outside world. Dracula also plays an important role in maintaining the collective identity of the monsters. He reinforces the idea that everyone in the hotel is special, unique, and part of something greater. His ability to lead this group can be seen as a reflection of his own need to belong. Perhaps deep down, he is also trying to believe in the narrative he created to protect his community. The extravagant architecture and isolation of Hotel Transylvania make it more than just a hotel for monsters. Within the theory that the monsters are humans living a collective fantasy, the hotel can be interpreted as a psychological refuge. a space where these individuals can embrace who they believe they are without fear of judgment or discrimination. In this context, the hotel functions as a therapeutic retreat, much like real places designed for individuals seeking emotional or psychological support. Hotel Transylvania provides an environment where everyone shares the same worldview. This space allows the monsters to freely express their unique personalities, helping them cope with their insecurities and traumas. A noteworthy detail is how the hotel is entirely closed off from the outside world. Surrounded by forests, mountains, and enchantments, it prevents any contact with humans. This reflects the idea that the monsters, or humans who believe they are monsters, are fleeing a society that doesn't accept them. This clear separation between the human world and the monster world symbolizes the need for isolation that many people feel when facing social judgment. The way monsters interact in the hotel is also significant. They feel safe showcasing their powers or peculiarities without fear of retaliation. However, these traits often have a more human than monstrous interpretation. For example, Wayne the werewolf deals with the domestic chaos caused by his countless pups, a situation that resembles the challenges faced by overwhelmed parents rather than supernatural behavior. Similarly, Frankenstein avoids fire but doesn't exhibit other abilities typical of a reanimated monster. He seems more concerned about his appearance and social status. The hotel also reinforces the idea of community. Guests are encouraged to interact, celebrate, and even face challenges together, such as in the case of Mavis and Jonathan's wedding. This unity helps the monsters feel part of something larger, which can serve as a mechanism to overcome feelings of exclusion or loneliness they may have experienced before arriving at the hotel. Another intriguing aspect is Jonathan's inclusion in this environment. When he arrives at the hotel, his laid-back and cheerful demeanor not only helps him blend in, but also highlights the hotel's role as a place of acceptance. Jonathan represents the outside world, yet his positive energy allows him to find his place among the monsters. This integration suggests that the hotel isn't just a refuge but also a point of connection, where differences can be embraced, even when the guests believe they are fundamentally different. Ultimately, the hotel can be seen as a symbol of resistance to judgment. Just as Dracula protects his community with walls and spells, many people construct their own emotional barriers to avoid the pain of rejection. Hotel Transylvania offers these people, or monsters, a chance to find safety, belonging, and, above all, acceptance. In the first film, Jonathan, a human, blends in with the monsters surprisingly easily. He dons a cape, wears fake fangs, and is instantly believed to be one of them. There are no deeper questions about his origins, powers, or appearance. This might indicate that the monsters are predisposed to see what they want to see, a behavior typical of a group living under a shared narrative. Furthermore, Jonathan never seems frightened or confused. He interacts with the monsters naturally, as though nothing is truly threatening. This could reflect how the monsters are more human in their actions than their appearances suggest. The behaviors and challenges faced by the monsters often align more with human struggles than with supernatural traits. For instance, Wayne the werewolf suffers from exhaustion due to caring for many unruly pups, a problem any parent could relate to. He doesn't demonstrate significant monstrous abilities, such as transforming under moonlight or displaying superhuman strength. Frankenstein is portrayed as a vain character, insecure about his appearance, traits that are more aligned with human concerns than fears associated with the myth of the reanimated monster. Murray the mummy appears more interested in parties and entertainment than in any mystical or dark aspects typically associated with mummies. These humanized traits suggest that the monstrous characteristics might be exaggerated perceptions of how the characters see themselves. While some moments in the films show supernatural abilities, such as Dracula transforming into a bat or moving objects with his mind, these abilities are often presented in a humorous or exaggerated context. This raises the possibility that such powers are subjective or imagined representations by those who believe they are monsters. Another critical point is the monster's fear of humans. Dracula creates the entire hotel to keep humans out, describing them as a deadly threat to his kind. However, when humans finally appear, such as in Jonathan and Mavis's relationship or during the family's journey to the human world in the third film, they are not as dangerous as Dracula had believed. This discrepancy suggests that the monster's fear of humans might be a projection of their internal insecurities rather than a real threat. It could symbolize the fear marginalized individuals feel towards societal judgment or rejection, often without a concrete basis. The monsters in Hotel Transylvania frequently overreact to common situations. For example, Dracula panics at the idea of his daughter exploring the world, something any overprotective human parent could understand. This behavior reinforces the notion that, despite their appearances, these characters are more human than they seem. The relationship between Mavis and Jonathan also provides important clues. The concept of the zing, which represents true love between monsters, occurs between Mavis and Jonathan, even though he is human. This can be interpreted as evidence that the zing isn't tied to actual monstrosity, but to the emotional connection between two individuals. This idea supports the theory that the world of Hotel Transylvania is more metaphorical than literal. While the idea that the monsters in Hotel Transylvania are humans living in illusion is fascinating, there is evidence in the films that contradicts this theory. One of the main points is the consistent demonstration of supernatural abilities. Dracula doesn't just transform into a bat, but also controls objects with his mind and flies, feats that would be hard to explain as a collective illusion. Additionally, characters like Mavis clearly possess vampiric powers, such as resistance to sunlight, with special protection and super strength, seen multiple times. Another argument against this theory is the interaction with humans, particularly in the third film, where monsters openly interact with ordinary people. If they were humans, it would be difficult to justify the immediate acceptance of their supernatural traits by the humans without causing confusion. These scenes suggest that within the film's universe, monsters genuinely exist as distinct beings with their own powers and characteristics, and that fantasy is an inherent charm of the Hotel Transylvania world. The idea that the monsters of Hotel Transylvania are not real monsters but humans living under an illusion adds a new layer of meaning to the franchise. It becomes a story about acceptance, identity, and the importance of finding a place where we can be ourselves. Dracula is not just a vampire, but the protector of a community of souls seeking liberation from the judgment of the outside world. This theory invites reflection. What if the world of Hotel Transylvania is a metaphor for the challenges we face in our own lives? Perhaps the monsters are like us, finding strength in embracing our differences and building communities where we can belong. What do you think? Could these monsters really be humans living in a world of fantasy? Or is the magic of Hotel Transylvania in the fact that the monsters are real yet share so much in common with us? Share your opinion and join the discussion.